Good morning, everybody. Trying to check and see if we've got any folks that are logging on. Going to give a few minutes before, just in case there are some people that may be late to logging in this morning to our question and answer session. Many of you already know who I am, but for those of you that do not and that may be new to my campaign trail, my name is Sheena Rickerson. I'm a local criminal defense attorney here in downtown Jasper. Prior to becoming a criminal defense attorney, I was a prosecutor here in Hamilton County, both in felony and misdemeanor divisions, for 4 out of 6 years of my state service. I opened my law practice in downtown Jasper in March of 2020, and I am over next to the old Mama's Burgers, where there used to be before they moved across 41. As far as background is concerned, wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about my qualifications. That's one of the biggest things, that I have been getting questions about in the campaign has been, my background, my education and training. Shout out to Jasper Nutrition, giving me my daily tea every morning. Gets me going. But really wanted to just let you guys know a little bit more about who I am. That's one of the biggest things that I'm hearing in the community when I'm putting the ears to the ground about my campaign is people wanting to know more about the candidates, whether myself or who I'm opposing. And so I wanted to do this video today, not only to answer questions, but also to tell you guys a little bit about me. I grew up actually on the west side of Jacksonville. Born and raised, Chafee Road. I went to a inner city high school, graduated from Ed White High School, and then I went off to school at Florida State University. It's the only school I applied to. I got in, I did my first year there. My family had some of their own personal struggles, and I ended up moving back home because I was homesick. I was spending the weekends driving back and forth. And I worked. I put myself through school. I had Florida Bright Future scholarships. I waitressed, hosted, did lots of other things, and I also worked when I was in high school. I've always been a worker, so when I look back at my past history, that's something that I'm very proud of. Is probably since I was about 13 or 14 years old, I've always been a worker. It's just who I am. And so I ended up transferring back to UNF for my second year, and I started working at a law firm during the day. I started out as a runner. I was working at a law firm in downtown Jacksonville, and started out by just delivering papers to the courthouse, to other law firms, helping with filing, things like that. And then I went all the way through to work my way up to being a paralegal. I did that while I went to school at night at UNF for their political science program. So essentially I worked full-time during the day and went to school at night. And then I got, finished on time in 4 years, got my bachelor's of art, and then ended up, taking probably about a year, I think it was, in between undergrad and when I started law school, because I was working for a firm. I was a paralegal still. And I worked, put myself through law school, worked as a paralegal, law clerk. I did internships. I clerked for 2 different circuit judges. I did a lot of stuff while I was in law school because I already had so much legal experience from being a paralegal, so I had a lot of opportunities that were open to me. But I did take that year off in between to study for the LSAT, to apply to law school, and I ended up staying local because I was working at a law firm in Jacksonville still when I applied in law school. So I didn't apply to go off anywhere because I just lived at home, and then drove back and forth to Florida Coastal, which was on Bay Meadows. So I was living on the west side, making that drive back and forth. So towards my last year of law school, I actually got a really good opportunity. I had already interned with the 4th Judicial Circuit Public Defender's Office during the summer, doing defense work. I had already clerked for Circuit Judge Waddell Wallace. I'd already clerked for Circuit Judge Frederick B. Tiger. One was a criminal judge at the time and felony circuit judge, and then one was a civil judge at the time, a circuit judge. And so my last thing that I wanted to achieve was interning with the state attorney's office, and I ended up getting a position through the 8th Circuit State Attorney's Office, and I was assigned to McClinney. That last year of law school, I moved to McClinney. I was seeing someone out there. We were in a long-term relationship, and ended up interning underneath Ralph Yazdia and Laura Lee Papel-Brannon, who is now the Baker County Circuit Judge. And so I spent that last year essentially just getting more trial experience, learning more about the prosecution side of cases, working under Laura Lee, doing, different things. And once I even finished law school, I continued to volunteer. I was actually sworn in June of 2013 by Judge Joey Williams, who is now retired. That's the position that Laura Lee took. And then ended up probably, I would say that following February after I graduated is when I started with the 3rd Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office out of Live Oak. Mr. Jeff Siegmeister was the state attorney at that time, which he is no longer. We have John Durrett now, but I'd like to think either the first or second, I really can't remember, what we call baby hire. And I started in February 3rd of 2014. And then I started in Hamilton misdemeanor and Madison misdemeanor, and I was assigned to both. So for a little while I drove back and forth from McClinney, but I ended up moving to Live Oak. I ended up leaving the relationship that I was in, and I ended up getting into a relationship when I met my husband. My husband was the former chief of police. He is deceased. He got into a very bad car wreck in June of last year, and died in the line of duty while he was headed to a call, or I guess a block party or something that was going on in downtown Jasper. That part's still unclear. But I met him in a deposition, actually, my first year as a prosecutor, when I was assigned to Hamilton misdemeanor in front of Judge Sonny Scaff. I was in front of Judge Scaff for about, I want to say 9 months, as well as Judge Browning over in Madison. And then I actually got promoted up to, or I think just transferred. No, I was transferred to Swanee misdemeanor. And then I was in front of Judge Williams, who is now retired over in Swanee. And I was in front of him for a little while, and then ended up getting promoted to felony prosecutor. And then I was assigned to Swanee as the felony prosecutor. I was there for, I would say, maybe a year, and then I ended up getting assigned to Hamilton as the felony prosecutor, which is where I eventually left when I left the state attorney's office. When I left, it was more of a personal decision for me, a family building decision. Mr. Siegmeister was still the state attorney, but there were, obviously things going on there. But I'm pregnant with my 3rd child. Had just found out and knew that my daughter was starting school, that I needed more flexibility, that I needed to be in a position to, have more time with my children, candidly. But boy, can I tell you, that was eye-opening, because that definitely is not what ended up being the case. Anybody that knows me knows that I didn't slow down. It didn't change a whole lot. Really just gave me the ability to have my own schedule, because then I went into private practice and just kept blazing. I went through and became board certified in criminal trial. I'm the only board certified criminal trial attorney in 7 counties. In the 3rd Judicial Circuit. We do have 2 other attorneys who, one's my former partner at the state attorney's office, and one is also a public defender that handles special prosecution at the Live Oak Public Defender's Office, but there is not another attorney in private practice. And so I'm very, proud of that. It took a lot of work. I had to be vetted. My professionalism, my ethics, I sat for a vigorous test that was very much like the Florida bar. I had to do so many trials, so many felony and misdemeanor trials, and I think my trial total now is up to 46 trials. I've done probably 3 or 4 of those now from the defense side, one of them recently being a felony first-degree murder case that I got a verdict on all counts, and an attempted robbery, but I got lessers on every single count for my client, and that was back in December. That was my most recent trial, but I have done lots of things, and that's really what I want to talk to people about, because that experience matters. Working in many different areas is important for a county judge and for a judge across the board. And what I think that people don't know about me is, number one, I was a tough prosecutor. People knew that I was fair. I listen to the mitigation. I listen to the defense side, which is probably why I'm also a good defense attorney. And I try to make a good decision, especially for those that are affected in my Hamilton County community. And I recognize that, the issues that we're facing currently right now in Hamilton County, and I agree that we do need, some change, and that they need to be addressed, and that we need some difference in what we've had in past years. So I want my followers and my potential, voters and everyone else that supports my campaign to know that it's there, and I recognize that. I recognize that more than probably anyone in this race, because I've lived here for 10 years. I have seen how it's progressed, and I have seen how it's developed, and I've seen how we've gotten to where we've gotten. But the part about experience and the diversity and knowing, why that matters is I was a paralegal, and I want to say almost every area of the law. Not to mention I'm your local town attorney for Jennings, so I do a lot of civil work as well, and a lot of government work, which is also what your county judge handles here. A lot of real estate stuff. I've done workers' comp. I've done insurance, plaintiff and defense as a paralegal. I've done trucking litigation, Social Security, disability, family law. I had a primarily family and criminal law practice all the way up until the point that my husband died. I've been a family law paralegal for the entire time that I've ever been a paralegal. I've been a criminal law paralegal the entire time, except for a very short period where the attorneys that I was working for, stopped doing criminal. I've worked for numerous attorneys over that 10-year time span, and all of them did something different. So even before I hopped out to law school and jumped into the prosecution arena, I had lots of experience and lots of things that I brought to the table, and a lot of what we call common sense. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I thrived as a good prosecutor, and I believe that I will thrive as a good judge, because I've had a lot of life experience, and I've had a lot of, ability to deal with the public and deal with people, and know the circumstances that I'm working with, and know the difference between someone who is a bad person and someone who has had a bad day. The ability to do that is crucial. The ability to treat people with respect is crucial, with dignity, with, the utmost morals. Be patient with people, be kind, be understanding, but be fair, and be judicial and, responsible, but also uphold the law. You have to walk a fine line between that, but you also can treat people like humans, and you can have empathy. And to me, a county judge is the first person that touches a lot of the issues that affect this community on a day-to-day basis. And I believe that's why I'm the best candidate, because I feel like that I know the people here. I've lived next to the people here. I have the background, the training, the experience, and I think anybody that knows me knows that I'm going to do the right thing, knows that I play by the book, whether it's from the defense side or the prosecution side. I hold each side accountable, and I'm always going to do what I know is legal and what I know is fair and what I think is just. There are lots of things that I could go on in this video to tell you about, my experiences, but, I've been an attorney now for almost 10 years, and being board certified, by the Florida Bar is super important. And that speaks to vetted credentials. Words are words. Saying you have the experience, saying you have the ethics, saying you have the professionalism is one thing, but when you have a certificate from the Florida Bar where they have reached out to all your legal colleagues, every judge that you've been in front of, every attorney that I've been against in these trials, and they all come back and say that they believe that I should have that recognition, that says something. I command the respect of my legal colleagues. I have the respect of the local judges that I've prosecuted in front of, and I've never been in trouble. I don't have, things that call my ethics into question. I've heard feedback from the community that, there can be a concern, well, the judge that's sitting there already has that experience. Well, that experience is very short. Judges are sent to judges school. Judges are sent to, be trained the same way. If I'm elected, I will be given that same training. At the point that this election concludes, I believe our current county judge will be sitting on the bench about 18 months. And so I understand where that could be a concern, but what I think everyone should also understand is, I have tackled every single challenge that's ever been presented in front of me, and this is not one that, I will back down from. And I will spend every day that, if I'm given the opportunity by the citizens here, to be serving on the bench, but to do my best, and to, stay on top of case law, stay on top of my training, learn new things, be the best in my profession. I'm already doing it now in private practice, and that's not going to stop just because I go to the bench. I'm here to do what's right for this county. I want to see change in this county. I want to see things progress, and I'm ready to be a part of that. And I hope that you guys see where my heart's at, and that when the time comes that you will make that decision to support me. So thank you guys all for listening this morning, and for logging on, and honestly for everything, for sharing my posts, for being here this morning, wearing my t-shirts, putting your signs on your cars, signs in your yards, showing up to my events. I mean, everything. The support and love that I have been shown by this community since I started campaigning has been overwhelming, and I'm extremely thankful for it, and I just hope that you guys help me through to the finish line. Thank you all, and have a good morning. Please feel free to still comment any messages and anything that you still may have. We're going to post this video, and you're still welcome to inbox me any questions or concerns that you have, and my campaign manager will get those and she will pass it along to me, and we will do our best to answer any questions or concerns of any of the citizens who are interested. Thank you guys, and have a great day.